So it can be really challenging while you're healing because it can feel like it's taking a long time. And yet you're trying to move into your new future and trying to meet new people. Let's talk about that. So people healing from narcissistic relationships will say, almost without exception, that one of the most difficult things about moving forward is meeting new people, right? And that means meeting new friends. But it shows up most pointedly in people trying to meet new partners. Our natural and healthy urge to want to be in healthy relationships comes up against the absolute terror and fear of being betrayed and harmed and confused again. So you feel like a yo-yo, feeling like I want to love and be loved, and then I'm scared of relationships. And then you're kind of caught in a purgatory of finding safety only when you're alone, but also craving closeness and relationship. And the back and forth can look like ambivalence to other people and to ourselves. Maybe I don't really want a relationship. You do, but integrating all of this, the harm you experience in a relationship, the confusion and the drive to be close, can just keep people feeling like they're not moving anywhere. Not forwards, not backwards, just frozen. So as part of healing, I talk a lot about discernment. And discernment is tough because in order to discern, you have to trust yourself. And people who've been through narcissistic relationships don't trust themselves. They'll think things like, well, clearly my picker is off, or I'm the one who kept going back to that toxic relationship, or clearly something's wrong with me, that kind of thing. But it's actually not that. You chose someone and they mistreated you. That's on them, not on you for choosing this relationship. But that can leave you feeling as though you can't do this. That you will keep picking toxic friends and toxic partners. But before you learned about narcissism, discernment is tough because many of you didn't even know this was a thing. And once you realize that it was, just that little bit of education that this is a pattern can mean that you're seeing these patterns more clearly. And yes, you will spy it. But no matter how much you know about it, you're still going to meet more narcissists. They're out there. Also, this idea of wanting a relationship, but also being afraid of relationships, some of that relates to that fear of getting stuck again and finding it hard to get out. I've said this many times. This is not so much about the choosing a narcissistic partner or person, or a narcissistic person choosing you. This is about the patterns in these relationships unfolding. And even when you start to feel them or see them, you may feel frozen, stuck, trauma bonded, and not know how to get out. Fear, hope, confusion, pity, all can keep you sort of with a sense of feeling stuck or not being able to make a decision. And that fear around getting stuck can also make it feel scary to get back into a relationship because the idea of having to get out of one of these things again just feels too overwhelming. Discernment is about moving slowly, listening to your body, paying attention to patterns, writing it down if you need to. And yes, it can take a second to see it. But when you do, being willing to disengage, not all at once, but take a few steps back, get more data, pay attention to your body, and keep moving slowly. This is not easy to do. It definitely takes some process of healing, and we're all, no matter how much we heal, we're still going to make mistakes. However, we also have to be careful to not overcorrect. Obviously, there are big ticket things that people can do in the beginning of a relationship that should just be no-fly things for us, like screaming, physical abuse, rage, cheating. But as we know, lots of stuff that happens in these relationships, especially early, is subtle under the radar stuff. They're not going to start beating you up on a first date. It might be a mild gaslight or minimizing us in front of other people or making us feel small or making a joke at our expense more than once. Things that people could easily say, oh, come on, don't make such a big deal out of that, and can leave us wondering if we are reading this right. Then there are even milder things that can happen. A person who shows up late for a date or a meetup. The person who may have a difference of opinion from you. the person who may cancel a date at the last minute. The challenge for people who are trying to learn and practice discernment is the hair trigger moment for us, and even at mild moments. For example, someone cancels a date because they're sick. And you then say, oh my gosh, this isn't safe. They've canceled on me. I'm out of here. In essence, even one mistake means that the whole thing goes down. So how do we find the balance between not letting one missed phone call or a late arrival be the reason to cut someone out, but also not stay in something that is veering into a unhealthy, maybe even manipulative space? Where is that line? Because discernment is in that line, right? Many survivors overcorrect. And when they start dating, may say, oh no, that's a mistake, and then boom, blocks them. Since nobody is perfect, the mistake-seeking approach, it's not discernment. It's post-traumatic safety seeking. It's a perception of threat, and it is totally understandable. But using that approach is going to impede the ability to get into any kind of new relationship, including a friendship, because everybody makes mistakes. Viewing discernment as a sort of middle path becomes the key. Seeking support can't just be reckless abandon and allowing anyone into our lives and sharing too much of ourselves too soon. But it also can't be rejecting someone after one human error that wasn't cruel or abusive, but it's the stuff that happens, like flat tires and stomach bugs. When we think that discernment is just zero tolerance, we miss the boat, because it's not. People are human, and when the misattuned moment or the mistake or life happening happens, we can discern by looking at the response. The person may communicate and say, I am so sorry, I am canceling because I don't want to make you sick, but can we please find a hard, fast date we can reschedule for next week? I'm so sorry for changing this at the last minute. That's very different than someone saying to you, I am sick, and then getting really angry at you for being disappointed. Or they may lie about being sick, and they may not even want to make another plan. It's not the mistake per se, but the repair, the connection, the capacity to keep connecting despite it. And when you have been through a narcissistic relationship, you don't get that. And so we learn that it's one error and you're out. And while it can feel very protective to do it this way, it may also prevent you from really making any more connections. Black and white is so much easier. And that fracturing we feel within ourselves in these relationships can almost parallel that need for wanting easy black and white metrics for how to make decisions. But healing isn't easy. Healthy, meaningful relationships mean growing from the mistakes. After years of learning that our mistake, if we even did one little thing wrong, it meant blow-ups and rage fests. Mistakes can feel like scary places in relationships. Discernment means learning the differences between small m mistakes, if you will, and big M mistakes. Between being blamed for having a feeling versus experiencing repair, restoration, and general accountability and empathy by another person. Is there a quick fix to it? No. Unfortunately, you have to take the time, kind of calibrate, develop support, do the therapy to find that middle between wanting love and fearing it, of not running at the first missed date, but not justifying patterns of abusive behavior. There are no absolutes or black and white in human relationships. And the fact is, healthy love and connection all happen in the gray. Where it gets interesting is that the gray isn't always a thing in narcissistic relationships. And discernment is learning that we actually got a bad bill of goods and we're told that there was a black and white playbook. But there's not. And when it's not, we need to learn to tolerate that anxiety. Thanks again.